Hello, good morning, Komal.
Good morning, Lee. It's
Good
lovely to
morning.
see you.
It's nice to see you too, and it looks like a sunny day out there.
Uh, till now, yes, it was sunny. Now I can see just a few clouds popping up, but it's lovely.
Not as if it matters too much anyway, because we're all
Yes,
locked down with COVID-19. So nowadays,
yes.
rainy days are quite good days. Um, and so I'm Leah, as you know, and we're doing this video as part of a series in response to coronavirus and the lockdown about how difficult this must be for parents. And as a parent yourself, who I only met earlier this week, and you really, the things that you were saying about parenting and about your own children, like really resonated with me. I'm not a parent at all, but working with teenagers for 15 years, I just thought, oh, she's a good mum. So, so not only are you a mum of two fantastic children, a 15-year-old girl and an 8-year-old boy, am I right?
Yes, that's correct.
You're an entrepreneur and you're a life coach. And your business now, I might get the name wrong, so you might have to pronounce this better for me, is
Okay,
Manita Life Coaching Services.
that's perfect.
Yeah.
You got it right.
Oh, good, good. And you told me something earlier
Yeah.
about the name of your business. What?
Yes, okay. So Namitta is actually a Sanskrit word which literally translates and means catalyst.
A
And
catalyst.
so is the role of a coach, to work like a catalyst in people's lives. And so, what else could be a better name?
And the role of a mum
Oh,
as
yes,
well.
indeed. Yeah, yeah, that too. That also combines because I believe parents are also just the catalysts in their children's lives. And that's the best role that they
So
can do.
on that note, why is this topic of parenting, especially now in this crisis, but in general, really important to you?
Oh, it's been a remarkable journey. The whole life is a remarkable journey. But for me, becoming a mom has opened up so many doors, so many, areas, and gave me a completely different perspective to look at life. So, as a person, as an individual, I had a lot of inhibitions, a lot of things that I would not feel very good about within myself and in general about life. But when I had my first baby and then my second baby, my entire dynamic to look at myself in my body, mind, and heart absolutely different. Became so different. It changed, and I've had a habit of doing introspections and talking to myself. So, if any given situation in life, I would just think about it, and then becoming a mother, and then seeing their journey. Becoming a child again with them has been such a rewarding experience. Sometimes, like some of my colleagues or some of my friends would tell me that these days, ladies or young women, they don't want to get married or they don't want to have children. And I would say, like, why it is, they don't know how rewarding it is uh, to look at your own life from that aspect and from that vantage point. And it's made me into a more beautiful, a more wholesome person, I would say. And
Oh,
that's absolutely my own personal opinion or experience. I don't say that those ladies who are not mothers or who cannot be mothers don't have those kind of experiences. But what I'm saying is just my own perspective, my own life. And being a mother has also offered me a new way to look at my relationship with my parents.
okay, interesting.
So
In
the
what way?
complaints and challenges that I've had with them while I was growing up as a child, now I was on the different side. I was looking at from a different perspective, from a different vantage point, and so many things were so similar. Like my mother was always a working woman, and very deeply passionately committed in her work. So as a child, I would always complain and say that you don't give me that much of time, or I feel your absence, and then think like that. And then when I had my girl, I was working too, and I was
Mhm.
working in private corporate 9 to no end to when you're coming back home. And for moments I would have so much of pain and guilt in me, thinking that, oh my God, I have always complained that my mom didn't give me so much time, and now what am I doing? I'm in the same situation. So in one way, that gave me a perspective into my mom's point of view, and really to put myself in her place and feel that she would have also felt the same. So she would have also carried some sort of burden in her. So that sort of went away, and I was able to relate to her more being in that position. And then it also gave me another dynamic, like right now I'm required to work as well.
Okay.
Right. And by working also, I'm able to do certain things for my daughter. So there is no point carrying this guilt in me. Whatever time I'm with her, it doesn't matter if I'm with her for 1 hour in a day, but that 1 hour should be the hour that she remembers.
What a lovely way to say that 1 hour that she remembers during the
Yeah.
day.
And not the rest of the 23 hours, not with her, but that 1 hour should be the memorable hour in her life.
That's very special. That's a really nice thing to do, and to focus that time specifically,
Yes, exactly.
with your children. It's an insight. And so how does that fit in now with everything that's going on with COVID-19, and also the fact that I know that you've only just made a big move to Canada? So there's been a lot of change in your life, and then
Yes.
suddenly this big challenge. So how are you coping with what's going on and your children?
So, to be very honest, the change with COVID-19 is not as, it's not as grave with my children. I have observed that. Primarily, it could be a reason why, because they've had a larger shift in their life where we moved from one country to another. And before moving here, we've done some preparation. So I've been with them, I've been talking to them constantly for more than a year, and getting them slowly and gradually ready for this transition. And so they have had a lot of questions, a lot of anticipations, and they've gone through that phase of change. So, and then when they arrived here finally, so we came here like a team, that okay, we
Like a team. I love it.
like a team, like we're going to a new culture, a new country, and we'll be together. And it's beautiful that we all talk to each other, and that sort of binds us. And then when they came here, initially, of course, that 1 week, 10 days of physical fatigue, and just changing to the different time zones and things like that. But the moment they went to their schools, they were like, oh, okay, we love it here, we like it here.
Fantastic.
Got adjusted so quickly. And thankfully, though we've come recently, but thankfully we'd had some considerable 2-3 months to get adjusted before, eventually this coronavirus thing started to happen. So in this time period, they have also gone out and interacted with people locally. And I have also had a chance to go out and meet some really incredible people through different groups and platforms, who I think have sort of become my grounding for here in Canada. So, so, so really, because they've had so much of preparation for this change, I think they are taking it very smoothly, the coronavirus bit. I mean, my son, though, he is quite intrigued and quite curious, because he always wants to check online every day,
Okay.
like how many people are infected now, what's going on, how many people have died, how many people have got well as well, how many children are getting impacted, and all those sort of things and questions. Initially, a guy got a little bit worried. I was like, oh my God, why is he focusing so much on this? But then I felt like it's a need. He's a growing up child, and he's the kind of person who connects two data points quite well. He's a very, like, that way, data, the numbers sort of entice him. So I felt that, it's just an innate need that he wants to know what is happening out there. And all although he's a child, I think he's capable to understand what is going on. And we cannot really, although self-isolation is going on, but you really practically cannot isolate yourself from what's going around. So you just go with it in a healthy manner,
Mhm.
and that's the best.
Do you know, it sounds like you have a really strong connection with your children. I love the fact that you prepared this big move with them
Yes,
together so well. And they've obviously settled down very quickly. And
they
then with
have.
this big change, you're facing some challenges, you know, with your son looking at the numbers, but you've got that connection and that kind of conversation, that mutual conversation between the two of you to look at this and, you know, and discuss it openly.
Yes,
So do you tell me more about that kind of communication style that you have with your children, how that's helping?
I think uh, that has always helped. That's what I believed. In fact, there is an instant. So with my daughter, I would say my daughter and son have been completely different personalities. So my daughter has always been very chatty, very talkative, so much so that some days I have to tell her, can you just give me 5 minutes? Please don't talk for 5 minutes. And she will literally count. She will literally count. When the 5 minutes is over, she'll be like, okay, 5 minutes is over. I'm back again.
Sounds like a little typical teenage behavior there.
But
5 minutes, literally.
but that's who she was when she was 4 or 5 years old.
Brilliant.
and and my son has been a complete opposite, very quiet, very shy, and a very meditative kind of person, a child. Like he can sit quietly for the entire day in the house, busy doing his own things in so much quiet and peace that by just looking at him constantly for 10 minutes, you'll feel like you've meditated. He's been so quiet. But now that he's growing up, we so I took that initiative to go ahead and start to talk to him.
Mm.
And so because he was going through a phase where all that the emotional development start to happen, but the
Yeah.
child doesn't really know what is happening inside, that this is some emotion that has a name or it need to be identified in certain ways. So we started to talk to him. So I remember there was this one time, and just one time, when he threw such a huge fit of rage and tantrum, and he was not listening, and he would become so violent that he'll be scratching all over you, that I got so angry and agitated myself, and I just locked him inside a room. Oh my God, that was the last time, and I vowed I will never do that again. The way he howled and cried, it tore my heart apart. I said,
Mm.
forget it, forget it. This is not that's going to work. And this is not that I can do personally. I can't sustain him being isolated and crying inside a room. I took him out. I apologized. I hugged him. I kissed him. And I said, whatever may happen, I will just talk to him. So, something, he was pretty young and he would know how to talk, or sometimes he will not be open to me talking so much to him. So, what I would do is, after the whole day of being in that rage and violence, when he'll sleep quietly, I'll just go sit close to him and talk to him then when he will be sleeping, knowing that, that though his conscious mind is at sleep, but subconsciously he may be listening to me. I may sound like crazy, but that's what I've done so much with him. Sat alongside him when he was sleeping and just telling him that I'm here for you, I'm listening to you and I love you so much. You can talk to me. And so that phase got over, and the moment he got into a phase where he started to verbalize his feeling, I was like, bang on, now you come, now let's talk. Now you can reason with me, now you can respond to me. And so, yeah, and so we've maintained that constant communication, which is very useful. And now with my daughter coming into the teen, I'm exploring a different kind of communication with
Yes.
It's like all kind of sarcasm and manipulations and very straightforward, to the point. Very sometimes I'm like, am I talking to my daughter or I'm talking to my boss or somebody? But it's interesting. It's really very interesting. They make me learn so much every day. It's beautiful.
It sounds beautiful. It sounds like you're a fantastic mum. A fantastic mum. And I love the communication that you do have and the recognition of the change in personalities as well, that okay, this is natural, this is going to happen, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to flow with
Yes.
this and learn. so
Absolutely.
so during this lockdown, how are things, have you noticed kind of positives as well as the negatives with the lockdown with your children?
Uh, yes. So definitely there are quite a lot of things that impact us, whether we realize it, whether they're that pronounced or they're very subtle. They're always responses or reactions that happen in us. So with my daughter, like I've been saying, one, she is in her teenage, so her sense of space and and her sense of how she wants to spend her time is very different from the younger one. And and now that he is restricted or limited in activities, so to say, so he wants to be engaged more actively. So so those needs are different, those needs are changing, and so far we've been able to do some trade-offs and manage it pretty well. Like I do realize that my daughter has a need for her own space, so we say fine. So I'll just go and look in and say, you okay? And she's like, okay, I'm going. And then another important dynamic is between two of them.
Okay.
They too love each other as well, but they are in such different phases of their own lives that sometimes they would be conflicting with each other without any rhyme or reason. And the reason is just that because they've been confined to a common space for way longer time than it is
Definitely.
required. And so it so I just let them take it out. So whatever they're feeling, there's no point suppressing it or unnecessarily putting my counseling to it. Sometimes they just need to release and take out whatever they're feeling. It's okay, you'll fight and then again you'll make up. So I just let them take these opportunities. I intervene only if I see that it's now going out of the hands. But otherwise, there's a natural bond which will develop between two of them, and these circumstances play an important role as well because it's life experience that they're also going through.
Yeah.
So how they will eventually learn to manage with this change, manage being in such close spaces with each other is very important for them, I think.
It's very interesting that you mentioned that age difference as well, because between me and my brother is a 9-year gap. Between my first brother and my second brother is a 16-year gap. So
Wow.
big gaps. And actually, they're very, there's a big difference in 9 years, and especially between a teenager and a younger person.
Yes.
But the hormones are coming through in a teenager, and the
Yeah.
child's still a child and is like, come on, let's play, let's do it. The teenager's like, no, I don't want to. So that must be quite challenging at times. It must be. So have you noticed some positive impacts that being all together is having?
Yes, because what happens is initially, of course, you conflict because everybody would want to fight for their own ways, their own space, and their own, comforts. But when you know that, this is how it's going to be, and I am very blunt in saying certain things to them, like sometimes I just say it the way it is, like this is how it is going to be. You got to deal with it. I
Yeah.
don't know how. You got to deal with it. And so I have realized no matter how younger they are, the moment they know that, okay, oh, all right, so this is how it is, their drama ends. And then they start to get into a position where they start to think about, okay, how can we do? How can we manage? And I think one very important aspect of parenting is, especially when you've got more than one child, is to see the inner bond between those children developing.
Mm-hmm.
That you are not, so sometimes as a parent you just need to pull yourself out of the equation. You say, I'm not here, I'm busy, just you take that breathing time to do something and you say, please deal with it. Sometimes I tell the elder one, say, you are the in charge in this situation, and the younger one, well, your sister is here, she's the in charge, so you better listen to her. And I have seen she manages my son, and now that we are living with my brother and my sister-in-law, they have a son, so a nephew, so we've got 3 children in home.
Okay.
So the day I tell her that, oh, darling, I'm so busy today, you take the charge, she keeps them busy. She engages with them and she plays with them, and then because she knows that, has a sense of leadership now that she's in charge. And they too know that, oh, they're taken care of, so if they need something they'll go to her and they say, can you do this for us? And so sometimes I think this interplay, this role play is also very important, that you understand and you say, okay, you're in one room to now manage. I don't know how, but just manage. So that independence also teaches them quite a lot of good things.
So
Brings freedom.
it's because you can see that there are a lot of benefits as well of being together, and those dynamics are changing. You're getting to learn so much more about each other and how to cohabit as well.
Yes.
24/7. It's a different world, and because you work and work a lot, how's that affecting your daily routine and the structure that you're putting together during the day for you and for them?
Yes, it's quite interesting. So we manage and we work around a lot of things, because what happens is they're not going to school, but their homeschooling has started, sort of like they get their online classes that they have to attend, and then so this one laptop, they have their own phones, but then there's one resource that need to be moved between 3 people. So she has to do her class and assignments, then he has his own classes that he would like to do, and then I have also my work and calls to do. So we just are learning this new way of managing our time around. So we said, okay, this time to this time you use the computer, then if I'm not working on computer, then I'll do something else. Maybe I'll cook, I'll use that time to cook or just play with the boys, and when he is using, then I'll do something else. And then when I have my calls, I say, you won't get this, it's mine now. Thankfully it's worked well so far. And yeah, and there's something so beautiful about human, is that although we may like to have our own way, But when we know that that's not the way, we are so adaptive, we are so flexible that we adapt and we change. But the first step for that is that awareness that, okay, what is possible and what is not. When you know that there is no possibility to push certain things, beyond a certain boundary, you don't go that way. So that sort of an understanding and awareness of human mind is really beautiful. Yeah.
Do you find, because you're a coach, do you find your coaching skills are coming in handy at this moment, and in parenting in general?
Yes. Parenting quite a lot. In general, I have learned to restrict a little bit because what happens is, just like I'm really passionate about my children and parenting them, I'm equally passionate about coaching. I find that it's such a beautiful way to connect within yourself and then with the people around you, and to make life so better and so beautiful in so many different ways that sometimes you just go over the board and you don't realize that, oh, right now a coach is not needed, maybe a sister is needed, maybe a friend is what is needed. So I had to curtail myself, which now I've learned to sort of say, okay, fine, cat, the coach hat. But still it kind of comes in, because coaching is not just about doing, but it's more about being. So my whole way of conversation with my children is very different now, uh, and in general with people around as well. So there are all these, the fine subtleties that have changed in me, which impact my everyday life and makes it so easier, smoother, and better. And not just in my interactions with other, but with me also, with myself.
Okay.
I get impacted. And a whole lot of people may think that, people who are in the field of coaching or therapy or counseling, because they know how the human mind functions, they don't get impacted. Oh, believe me. We can just make fool of ourselves as beautifully as the rest of the people do, because
Yep.
just knowing something a little bit better doesn't guarantee that you are in that moment, in that zone at all the time. So because of this coronavirus, I have observed a whole lot of trouble, a whole lot of impact more on me individually as a person than on my children, actually, because being in a profession where you're out there to help people, and also combine it with my personal unique situation where I'm new in a country and I'm here to, to set up my business, to develop my work. So this need of being able to reach out to people and be there for them, and then combined with the need to make a mark for myself, would you put you in such a desperate and vulnerable situation at some point of time that everything's slowing down at suddenly you say, oh my God, my plans have been sabotaged for another few months. I don't know what I can do. And that can really put you sometimes in a zone which is not really positive. And you may end up doing some really foolish, frustrating decisions you take, which are not good and positive. So what helps is you realize, and then you bring yourself back from that zone and say, hey, come on, you're not being in here and now right now. It's fine. It's fine. This is the situation. You can't do anything about the situation. You can just make the best possible use of the situation.
That's nice. The best possible of the situation. Yeah.
Exactly. So just calm down, be quiet. It's okay. You go out and play whenever you are allowed to go out and play. Till then, you just stay inside and build up your inner strength.
So how are you managing, like, for your own well-being and for your own, like, management of maybe stress or when things get difficult? Are there techniques that you're using, or techniques that you could recommend to other parents out there who could literally be like, at the moment?
Okay, so literally the biggest change that have happened for me in this period is that I've started to give more emphasis to my meditation practice consciously, which have been in the back of my mind for a very long time. I was like thinking, okay, I must give a more disciplined routine time to my meditation practice because it keeps me really grounded, really centered. But because I was busy doing a whole lot of other things, this was on the back burner. So this time has really given me a lot of opportunity because everything is slowing down. I am able to give more conscious time to this meditation practice, and I find it so rewarding, so rewarding. And then there are a lot of things, even in this time, I think my day goes by like so quickly, so fast, I don't realize. So apart from meditation practice, what I do is I reach out to people by the way of both checking on them on and off, all the lovely people that I've met here. I just keep in touch with them, keep talking to them, keep asking if they are doing right, if and then we just chit chat, share some positive things, and it elevates my mood, it elevates their mood sometimes. And then I am also very fond of reading and writing. So if any idea comes to me, I just write maybe a few lines or maybe an article about it, and then just let it go out. LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever.
I did notice some of your articles. I'm really looking forward to reading them very much. So it sounds like you're finding things to occupy your time with, but also to deal with this strange situation and change that everyone around the world has had. And it sounds so bizarre to say that everyone around the world is having this massive change in their life. And for your children, how are they filling up their time and making sure that they socialize and kind of get that structure between schoolwork and socializing and having fun, and what kind of things are occupying their time?
They also have their own set of interests and activities that they'd like to be involved in, and that sort of keeps them engaged by all means, and keep them happy too. Like for my daughter, socializing or talking to her friends is mostly Instagram and all of that. I'm sure she's keeping touch with them. And then apart from that, she's a lot of interest in painting, music. So sometimes she does this digital art, and sometimes she will paint something on, do some sketches and all of that. So she's honing her skill set quite a lot these days. And then she will practice her guitar. Some evening we will be just sitting doing our work, and then she's singing and playing in her room, which is so good.
That's brilliant. A talent I wish I had, a skill I wish I'd learned.
And then my son, he's very, so him and my nephew, they're both quite set in their times. They'll take time to do their, schoolwork or school projects. Then because they're both contemporary, like just 1 year apart, which is a blessing in disguise at this point of time, they spend a lot of time with each other, playing, bonding, doing things. Then they have their TV time where they can play on tab or computer, learn some new skills. And then my son has to play football with me for 20 minutes every day indoor.
Brilliant. So you fit in the exercise in there as well, indoors.
Up to.
Oh, gosh, it's what other kind of activities are you trying out to get some exercise and to keep active?
Apart from running around the whole day.
Apart from that.
Okay, so we although we are in the lockdown, but then, you can step outside for walks and things like that. So,
Okay.
yeah, though keeping our safe distances from
Yeah.
people and, things like that. So we do that quite a lot. And then we just stand up, jump around, dance a little, or play this football and just keep ourselves quite active. Yeah.
Brilliant. I think it's because some countries and some places there are different rules, so you can go outside and have a walk. That's so lucky. Here I'm based in Spain, and here no. You are in the house, no walking, no exercise, just for
Wow. Yeah.
mandatory necessities. So I
Yes.
can only but imagine how difficult that would be, especially for people that kind of live in flats and
Yes.
can't get into a garden. What activities would work and keep people active and engaged? It must be so
So,
different.
it's so interesting. Though the times is like that, but you see people's creativity flourish during such times.
Yeah.
When body movements are restricted or controlled, then the mind runs faster. So I see a lot of these people on LinkedIn, Facebook doing all sort of creative activities like dancing with their children, or yoga is something else, of course. Yoga, meditation, you don't need that kind of a space. But yeah, there's indoor exercise and Zumba online classes, karate. So my son started to learn karate in school, and now they have these online, YouTube videos which you see and then you practice along with, and so it's quite interesting. There's
It's a
quite a
new
lot.
world. Yeah.
It's new,
Literally a new world.
new world,
So
absolutely.
many new opportunities, but also a whole new way of living and working things out. And it sounds like you are doing amazing. And honestly, from speaking to you, I just think, oh, what a great mom. You really are. And you've got a lovely connection with your children. And I'm so grateful that you've agreed to do this, because your insights and the way that you base that connection, that conversation with your children is just so lovely. And it's a really good skill that if everyone adopted with their children, it would improve things. Because I imagine there's a lot of conflict at the moment in homes with maybe children and parents all in one space, and they're not used to being around each other 24/7. There must be, and that's got to be hard. So
Really, there's one thing that I realized, especially with my son when he was very young, is that as a parent, if you are in your mind not conflicted, if you are in a space of peace, quiet, and just pure love, you can handle any amount of agitation in your children. If they're agitated in front of you, you will be able to manage it so smoothly. But if you are agitated inside you, you would never be able to manage the agitation in your child, because your and their agitation will just, resonate much higher. So the best way to be with your children, especially when they are in a troubled or disturbed phase, is to first calm yourself, first bring yourself in that place of patience so that you can be there for them. So, and if you are not in a moment, in that space of peace and calm, I think the best way is to just be very honest and say that, give me some time right now. I'm equally agitated. I wouldn't be able to help. Just give me some time. Allow me some time. I'll be with you. And go, take your time, come into that zone and come back. And then say, okay, now I'm ready. Tell me, what's the problem? But don't ever approach, the inner distress and agitation of your children in the same mindset. You have to have a calm and a loving mindset in that state.
that was so beautifully put. I can't even add to that, because that was just perfect. I totally agree with what you're saying, 100%. And actually, if you could give one message to parents out there now, anywhere in the world, what would that message be? What would you like them to know to kind of help them in this time?
I would say that specifically to parents, when you are with the children, if at any given moment, any action or anything from your children sort of brings you in a state of a trigger or sadness or hopelessness or any negative emotion, I think the best the parents can do is just to take some time and look within and say that what is it that is coming out of me and why? Because the children are just the mirrors. They just reflect your inner state, and they reflect it so well with so much of purity. So when you're looking at your relationship with your children or the interactions and what is coming out of there in that given moment, it's mostly always something coming from here within you. They just keep showing you what is it that you need to resolve within.
Our children are a mirror. Wow.
Yeah. So just be like that with them and let them show you. And this reminds me of so there is this very interesting, very beautiful program called Theory U, which is given by Otto Schrammer. And they say that, what exactly is the line? I'm forgetting. They say, it says that learn from the emerging future, not from the past. And so I say that children are your emerging future because they are emerging and growing. So for me, the application of that theory, eudaimonia in parenting, is that allow yourself to learn from your children. Let them show you the way and go with it.
Oh, I'd not heard that before, and it is so beautiful. So it's learn from your emerging future.
Learning from the emerging future, yes.
And not from the past.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's lovely. I'm going to write that down straight away after this.
I mean, past is equally important. There are a lot of good things that comes from past as well, but not being so deeply ingrained in past that you don't allow yourself to move ahead. And there is an intelligence which is inherent in all children. Yeah.
Oh, Komal, honestly, this was so beautiful. I've really enjoyed talking with you, and you've got some amazing insights, very much. And as I keep saying, you sound like a fantastic parent, a fantastic mom. Your children are so lucky. They really, really are. And I'm just so grateful.
I never took it so realistically, except for when my dad mentioned this once. He sort of responded to something that I posted on Facebook, and he said, and he wrote back, he said, "Oh, you're a very good mother." I was like, oh, I'll cry now.
Oh.
And that meant so much for me. And yeah, but I say I'm just learning and growing with my children.
But that's so important, to learn and to grow with your children. And that's when I met you on Monday, that was something you said, that growing with your children, and that stuck in my head. I thought that is I keep saying the word beautiful, but everything's so beautiful and inspirational in this conversation. But it is that growing together, yes, as one but separate as well. And I think that's so lovely. I really do. Komal, thank you so much for sharing all your insights. And I really appreciate you taking the time out to record this video and to send this message to parents across the world. And yeah, a big massive thank you again.
And thanks to you for giving me this space and letting me just go on and on.
And I'm hoping that you might be able to join us in our up and coming webinars on Thursdays, our parenting webinars.
I would love to. I would really love to. Yes. Yeah.
Right. I will definitely see you straight after this and there as well. Thank you.
Yeah.
Keep safe and well, and take care, all of you. Okay.
You too. Thank you so much.
Bye.